Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our class. You have just had two assignments that were related to the elements of art and the principles of design. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about how this all works with what we're doing to learn how to draw. So your PowerPoint is called Your Brain on Art, Upside Down Drawing Practice. So since you've just had practice looking at elements and principles, I want to bring that back and have you do something a little more realistic. So identify in your head what elements and principles are most important in each of these two artworks. I'm going to give you a minute to think about it, and then I want you to come up with something. Pause the video if you need to. Did you think of an answer? Of course you did. There's always more than one right answer here. Each artwork and everything we see contains the elements and principles. It's just your ability to pull those elements and principles out that we're trying to build. So when you see something, looking at it and being able to filter it into specific elements and principles is what we're trying to go for. So if we're looking at this piece, elements that you might be seeing, it looks very flat to me. So elements that are flat are related to shape, right? I also notice the really bright yellow and blue in the background, and the orange stands out. So those are colors. So there's two elements. If I was looking at it a little further and thinking about principles, I would think, I notice how this feels really equal. Like there's a person on either side and that one person is in the center. To me, that looks like balance. Things feel equal. Other than that, I would also notice, maybe I would think a little bit about contrast. I notice differences. There's like the black shapes that make the body is very different from the solid colors around it. It really stands out. It's very bold. If I look at the way these marks kind of roll through the background, the way it was painted, I see movement, but I also see kind of a rhythm. So there's always more than one answer. The other piece that I asked you to look at has different elements in it and principles, and some maybe that are the same. So when I look at this piece, I first of all really get caught up in this background mark making, the way it looks so rough. And roughness is described as texture, right? So texture would be what I would notice here. And there are these like skinny little lines. You could say line additionally. That would be another element that like stands out. Or maybe you could identify line. There is no color in this piece. This is a black and white piece, so value has to do with shading and light and dark. So lightness, extreme white, all the way to like extreme black. And there's a range in between. I would say this is value. As far as principles go, when I first glanced at this white area really stands out against the strong black outlines around it, or not outlines, but black areas. So that stands out in a bold way. I see that as emphasis, and I also see contrast between black and white here. They're really kind of side by side all over the place. There isn't a lot of real subtle grays to it. And those are the principles that stand out to me. You might see others, but we're going to just keep practicing this. So the focus so far has just been on identifying the elements and the principles and building that awareness and being able to see things. Now we're going to try to work on using your awareness to think differently and see differently so you can draw better. So my guiding question is, how does your brain work as you observe and draw? And why does that matter? You can think about this. We're going to talk about it. So you have two halves of your brain. They have different functions. What are they? Some of you might be aware that the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body. So if you're right-handed, that means you're a little more left brain dominant, because every time you move your right hand, there's little synapses firing off on the left hemisphere of your brain. The opposite is true if you're left-handed. If you're left-handed, then the right side of your brain is a little more active. But we all use all parts of our brain, or those two hemispheres back and forth, no matter what hand you tend to be. But there are some specific things that also happen on your left hemisphere. It is where your logic and mathematical skills, math and logic kind of go hand in hand. It's where you have your ability to keep things in sequence, like organizing things, putting things in rows. Time. If you're a student that's always watching the clock or aware of time and how long things take, or who is late and who's on time, that is a left brain skill. And then your left brain is also your verbal center. So if you're very chatty and you like to identify things and label things, that's a tendency for you. These are all left brain skills. Now your right brain has some other skills. So the right side is spatial. It helps you understand distances and areas and recognizing relationships within space, how close and how far things are from each other. It's your creative center. It's also the part of your brain that helps you understand proportion. Now, proportion is tricky to explain outside of drawing. Many of you probably think about proportion most often when you're getting dressed, like when you put on, or if you're shopping for clothes and you put on a shirt, you look at how far it falls from, in your midsection, or you're looking at how the sleeves hang. You're looking at how big it is in relationship to you, or how it fits compared to your body. You're thinking about those relationships. And then your right brain is also mute. So you probably will notice that if you really get into a drawing, you will naturally stop talking. You could be in a room with a bunch of friends and you probably just stop because you are shifting to your right brain. You're looking at space and you're thinking about proportion, and you naturally just stop talking. So the right side of your brain creates or communicates through creating. So I want to help you experience the switch from your left to your right side. So please just relax for a moment and look at these clouds. What do you see? Do you see just clouds? Or do you see images? Now, people that tend to be a bit more right brain dominant will instantly look at these and start to see images. This is an example of an artist drawing from these clouds. And here's what this person saw. If we go back and look at them side by side, you'll notice, you can see where they were identifying, like, oh, this is an eagle here, or a bird, and here is its tail, and there's this very round creature person with legs and an arm coming through here and a little chubby head. You can see like where they made these connections. Now the right side of your brain is the side that lets you see clouds in a new way. The left side of your brain is the side of your brain that says, ooh, that is a cumulonimbus cloud. I want to identify it and label it. It wants to classify it as something. It's just a very different mindset. So we're going to try and access your right brain a little bit more than your left here. So I want you to try this on your own. Take a second and just gaze at these clouds in the sky. Okay, I'm going to pull out just a little section of these clouds. Now your left brain, again, is going to be the side that says, ooh, these are cumulus clouds, and those are cumulus nimbus clouds over here, and there's some stratus where are they? Stratus clouds. But we're going to try to move away from that. I'm going to pull up just this section right here, and if you gaze at it a little longer and relax, you'll start to see other things in it. Like this looks like, to me, 2 eyes and a mouth, and it kind of looks like a little baby Yoda with smaller ears, or a cat with a smashed face. And this looks like kind of a buffalo, or maybe just a mouth. You can see other things if you just relax and look at it. Now that's your right brain being active. So how does this work when we're drawing? And why do we care? Well, most of your other classes, your entire school education time, have required you to access your left brain. So some of you, if you haven't had art classes, are a little out of practice. Like in English, you're recording, you're thinking verbally, and you're processing language. And math, you're putting things in order, and you want things to be sequential and logical. Science, it's all about remembering labels for things and logic and progressions. History, same thing. Logic, sequences, timelines. But in drawing, that's not necessarily what we're after. I really want you to be able to kind of switch to your right brain thinking. And so we're going to do a lot of activities to help you get there and to build your creativity. So our first step was observation, and then the elements and principles are intended to help teach you what to see and how to notice things differently. And now we're going to really focus on your observation in spatial differences and proportions and angles. So asking questions and thinking about your right brain. So we're going to trick your brain to getting to the right side. And the way we're going to do that is by drawing an image that's upside down. So get your sketchbook and open to a page in the back, maybe just page 61. You probably have used all your line shape section pages. So go to page 61 and then come back here, pause this video, come back here, and then we will go on to the next steps. So setting up your sketchbook, what I need you to do on this page, or if you have room on page 14, it looks like I was on page 14 for this example, you can go wherever. Set up your sketchbook like this. I want you to draw one horizontal line at the top of the page. You can use a ruler or another piece of paper to make it straight. Just make sure that the skinny side of your sketchbook is the top. That's super important. Now I'm going to show you an image that's upside down. And you will only see a small section of it, a sliver. And I want you to focus on drawing what you see there. Lines, shapes, and angles. Start the drawing just below the line that you drew at the top of your page. All right, so I'm going to show you something like this on your screen, and I want you to draw right here. What you see in this space, you're going to draw it right here. And you should use another piece of paper or something else to help guide how much space is available. You notice that from this line to my guide here, it's about the same space that I have available here. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Now, I'll continue to show you more of each part of the image, and I want you to continue to pull your paper down and draw more and more and more. So keep asking questions related to proportion and space. How big is this? How small? How much does it curve? Where does it connect? Okay, let's start. Please feel free to pause when you are in between slides. I am going to click through this quickly so our recording is shorter. Always try to notice where lines connect. How far is it from this point to where this line ends? What is the angle I see along this edge? What is the angle I see here? Ask questions about angles and spaces. This is going to be something you recognize, but that's not the intention that you think about what or who it is. Here's a little more of the image. So again, looking at relationships. How does this curve? Where does this line come up or connect? How does this curve? What's the angle on this? How much space do I see from this point to this point? Pause the video when you need more time. Now we're getting to the end and you probably recognize the character. Please pay attention to angles and lines and ignore the left brain that wants to talk about or think about who this person is. Pay attention only to distances in space. How far is it from this little angle out to this point? How close is this line to this line? How close is this line to this line? What can you do there? and look at distances in space between all the lines and how big things